Gemma Magnusson. I'm 4 times Britain's Strongest Woman and 2 times World's Strongest Woman runner-up. And I own my own studio called Powerburn in First, North Yorkshire. And I have been asked to talk to you today about female strength.
So how did you get into weightlifting then, Gemma? Was there any reasons you got into it?
Well, I've always been a huge fan of World's Strongest Man at Christmas, and our Christmases at home as a family were spent, cheering on your favourite strongman, and I loved it from the word go. My family were big into rugby, so we've always been into strength sports, but it was the strongman that always, it just looked so much fun, and I was never really a fan of physical education or doing anything physical when I was a child. I've got the record for the most amount of letters written to get me out of PE. Still hold that record, and it was very uninspiring for me, school PE. So when I got to meet some of the strongmen, and I felt that they understood where I was coming from. They liked to be powerful, but they weren't into long distance running, which is kind of all you really did at my school at that point. And it just didn't really inspire me to want to do anything. So I met the guys and I got the opportunity to train with them. I had a personal trainer who discovered that I was quite strong myself, and it just went from there really. And it was just the motivation that I got from seeing my numbers increase rather than focusing on numbers on a scale going down. That was very much fun. I've always been a big girl, and it was always a case of trying to fit in and not really having a sort of pigeonhole for me until I found my strength, and I realised that I'm just going to have to start a new pigeonhole, and that's what I'm hoping I've done. In 2003, that's when I first got into it, 2002, 2003, and that's when I realised I'd found my niche.
Was everybody supportive of your goals when you first started getting into powerlifting?
For Strong Woman, it was my parents obviously just support everything I do. My family is I have the world's best family. My sister is amazing, my mum and dad are amazing. And, they've always been super, super supportive. Always on the sideline. My best friend and my sister and my mum and dad had Go For It Gems t-shirts at my first competition, and it was super support. My friends at the time thought it was a little bit weird. They didn't really understand why I wasn't coming out drinking anymore or going around the towns, and they were a little bit sort of negative about what it was that I wanted to do because they didn't understand it. And I think that when you don't really understand something, you oppose it really, and that was the general consensus. So I just got a bunch of new friends and just got on with life really, and it was much more of a case of picking the people that I wanted to be around that was going to help me on my strength journey really.
A lot of women are frightened of lifting heavy weights. Did you ever have any concerns with that, and what would you kind of say to those women who were a little bit frightened of getting started?
The misconception of women and weights is very common. As soon as somebody sees a weighted bar, they fear it because they don't understand what it can do. I think the first factor for women fearing the weights is how big they're going to grow, and that's a shame because it's not the weights that grow you, it's your nutrition. So if you want to keep a really toned and slender look, then your diet is paramount. And if you do want to bulk up, and everybody has different goals, and it's the individual difference of individual thought process, and I think that depending on the woman depends on what she wants and what her goal is. So when it comes to the weights and how it can help you achieve things, when I get to sit down with the women on a one-to-one level and explain what it is that they want to achieve and how weights can assist that, their attitude changes dramatically to it, and also the increased inner confidence that knowing that you can lift your own body weight plus is huge. The way that you can access inner power that you know you have, but don't get to use as often as you should. You know, our ancestors have, you know, used inner power for many years, and it's a really, really empowering thing to be able to do when you're tapping into the way that our ancestors used to live, and it really increases that sort of primal instinct in us, and it makes us just more balanced hormonally and mentally. And I think, you know, from that point of view, women, when they start lifting weights, they feel better just because they have that empowerment.
So how has weightlifting helped you grow as a person, would you say?
It's absolutely been the making of me. I mean, today I am exactly the person that I've always wanted to be, because you know, when you ask for strength, you have to be really prepared as to what's going to fly at you. And, you know, having physical strength has massively increased my mental and my spiritual strength. And you've got to grow all three at the same time. And I'm a huge advocate of growing them, you know, not just focusing on the physical, you know, focusing on your well-being, your mental strength, and focusing on growing everything together, because they all go hand in hand. You know, the things when I, you know, what life throws at you, being physically strong is a huge indication of how mentally strong you can be. So if I'm going through a bad patch in my life, then I either turn to the weights and get a little bit physically stronger, because I know that that's going to automatically help me mentally and spiritually, or, you know, emotionally. And it is a, you know, I'm always very famous for saying there can never be too many strong women, and it is absolutely right, because if you can be a physically stronger person, you can be a much better version of yourself. And like I've said in the past, nobody's ever asked me to make them weaker. They've only ever asked me to make them stronger, inside and outside. And I think that, you know, when you put the two together, it can be very powerful.
What's the biggest sense of accomplishment you've had since you got into weightlifting?
Well, my biggest accomplishment to date is having my two little boys, because I was told I couldn't have children, and it has been through the strength training that I've been able to balance my hormones to be able to conceive, and that by far outweighs any, you know, trophy or competition win or anything like that, and that has been given to me from understanding the way the body works and everything through strength. So that obviously is my biggest accomplishment. I think you know, from a competition point of view, all the competitions I did, I learned masses. I learned more in the competitions where I didn't place first. I enjoyed, of course, placing first. That was really fun. But the biggest moment for me was when my athletes, the girls that I've trained, they feel what I felt going through the whole strength process, and I get much more satisfaction from seeing a girl that has come to me and asked me to make them stronger, placing 4th in the European Strongwoman or 5th in the world, or coming the top in the Europe. You know, Donna, she's the European Strongwoman, and she trains with me, and, you know, massive accomplishment. Nicola, one of my, you know, most favourite athletes, she's placed 4th in the European Strongwoman, and, you know, her background story is really inspiring. So when they do that, and when you can feel from them how they feel and how good they feel and how much it's completely transformed their life and changed their thought process to everything, and how great they look as well. It's not just about, you know, how you feel inside. It's about, you know, if you wanted to look good from it, you can obviously use that to aesthetically please yourself, but it's definitely through other people's accomplishments that I have got my biggest accomplishment.
Your clients are clearly inspired by you. Who's kind of been there to inspire you when you were going through everything?
Well, my parents have just been amazing because I have the best parents in the world. One of my biggest inspirations is one of my best friends. She's called Mary. She's in her 80s, and she's always been a very inspirational woman. I've got a lot from our chats. I used to work for her. She owned a cattery, and I used to work from her from when I was 7 or 8 years old until I was about 19, and we used to talk a lot, and about philosophy and theology and stuff, and she was very inspiring to me. Athletic-wise, my shero was Jill Mills. She was amazing. We are really good friends now. Just, women of power and women of strength. Ivanka Trump, everyone's like, why is she one of your heroes? Well, she's a super, super amazingly intelligent woman, and she comes out with some really smart things, and she's a business person, and she trains, and it all goes hand in hand. And now I've seen her training with weights, and that makes me hugely happy, because my shero is now doing stuff that I do as well. So, but no, I'm inspired by anybody, especially women, who have got massive amounts of confidence and that have utilised all their negatives into massive positives, because that is basically what, in my opinion, you do when you become stronger. You have used something that has been really tough to make you a much better version of yourself.
If you could give someone a piece of advice, someone who's looking to start out in weightlifting, what advice would you give them?
Enjoy it. Really enjoy it. Keep your mind open, and just use your instinctive inner power. Of course, you've got use help to get technically correct form and things like that, because that's very important. Having a PT is really important, especially if you want to do a powerlifting competition or having a coach or something. That's really important. But from a personal perspective, you can always get yourself into whatever strength category you want to get into by the way that you think, and learn about yourself, take accountability for yourself. When it's tough, enjoy it. Yeah, don't whine about it. Yeah, it's tough, you've made that decision, you want to be strong, don't quit. Just really set yourself a goal and just make sure that you get there, because reaching a goal is one of the most amazing things that you can do, and it's that sense of accomplishment. If it's a strength accomplishment, can massively affect the rest of your life in all the other areas as well. So, use it all as a huge positive.
You've obviously achieved a lot in your career, Gemma. What are your goals now for the future?
My goals have always been to make as many women stronger versions of themselves as I can, and I'm not just talking about getting women to compete. Of course, that's an awesome thing, because the women that I've got into competitions have massively enjoyed it, and it is so much fun. I never liked PE when I was a kid because it wasn't fun. Strongman competition is really, really fun, and I now want to use the knowledge that I have to inspire and motivate and help as many women use what they already have inside them to their best ability. And if they can increase their confidence through lifting weights, which is a huge one of the biggest benefits of lifting weights, as far as I'm concerned, is how much confidence I see in my women increase. And if they're feeling low or bad, or if they're having a life crisis, this is where you turn inwardly, you turn to yourself, because at the end of the day, we've got to spend the rest of our lives with ourselves, and being a stronger version of the person that you'll have to spend the rest of your life with is only ever a good thing. So I want to now spend as much time as I can making spreading the joy of women's strength, but also not just to women as well. The stronger women get, the stronger the men get as well. So using what I've known, what I've learned, and what I know to increase men's strength too, and just to have a lot of fun.
Thank you, Gemma. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.